he would be leaning in and Obama would be kind of upright. But what we're seeing are all of the signals, especially the proxemic signals, of genuine agreement and genuine getting alongness going on right here. Obama's leaning into Trump, which he rarely does to people. For him to lean into someone, especially when there's such closeness between them, they're like 12 inches apart from each other, and they're both leaning in. This is a huge signal of bonding, friendship, or at least at a minimum, a mutual desire to connect. That's my favorite part of this entire thing, the whole thing. And we can talk about other aspects of it. Was Dan Quayle's wife, again, having this instantaneous disappearing affect on her face, and it just vanishes. And we were talking about this in between this while we were looking at this together. And the moment she's in any person's eye line that she needs to impress, she has this big, huge smile on her face, and that expression just vanishes off the face. And it's like within a tenth of a second of Obama just turning, and he no longer has her in his eye line. That just vanishes off the face. So what we're seeing here is a completely social gesture. It's a person wearing a mask, and they are an expert at masking. So one thing I thought was fascinating about this is this field of behavioral science called proxemics. And this is about how different cultures have different distances of social space from each other and that kind of stuff, of genuine agreement and genuine getting alongness going on right here. Obama's leaning into Trump, which he rarely does to people. For him to lean into someone, especially when there's such closeness between them, they're like 12 inches apart from each other, and they're both leaning in. This is a
So Chase, I think this clip is perfect for you because right there in the beginning, we're seeing your two bosses interact. Because in your deployment, you served under Obama and Bush. So we're seeing that. And also
our shoulders are facing. I'm struggling between looking at the camera and Spidey right now, if you're wondering what my eyes are doing. So I want to look at my friend and see how he's reacting, and I want you to feel like I'm giving you attention too, which is what we're talking about. Bush gives everybody the attention, full 100% attention, almost like twisting his spine and reorienting his shoulders as far as he can to reach back and do that. There's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, he's a Texan. When it comes to culture on that 5C checklist, this is very common for him. It's very common for people in the South. Number two, he's at a funeral where he probably wants to get seated as soon as possible, so he's not standing up in front of a crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people. So he wants to stay low and not kind of take the spotlight, which he is known to do, kind of just be muted and in the background. And he's a cool dude. So he's reaching back, he's hanging out. It's just like it's at a tailgate party or something.
when George Bush is turning his attention away from Marilyn Quayle, the moment, like you see this one frame here, and that's exactly when her smile goes from smile to no smile. It's perfect. It's exactly what you were saying earlier. The moment she's out of sight, that smile's gone. And this time, if we look at Karen Pence, now we're seeing an acknowledgement. She leans in, she gets up, she greets both George Bush and his wife. So a lot more warmth here. So whereas with the first two, we saw, disengaged, maybe with Obama, just a little bit of acknowledgement. Here were smiles and lean-ins and actual interaction. So we're seeing, this is why we look at baseline. If she was just with everyone coming in, just sitting there like this, like, okay, she's at a funeral, she's in her bubble, she doesn't want to interact, but we're seeing a break from baseline. So there's more warmth here, there's more connection, there's more care.
Spidey, what do you got on this one?
Okay, so I'm going to make this really quick because I want to throw it over to you because there's a lot of really cool stuff happening here with the dynamics between three classic couples. We have Bill and Hillary, we have George and Laura in the middle, and then we have Obama and Trump. Couple of the year, still going at it over there. I just want to make a really quick comment about George Bush. When the Clintons come in, he gives more respect than he expects. So when he came in, he was quick to his seat, went by Obama, sat down, really quick. And then, yes, like you said, there was that acknowledgement, but the attention wasn't on him. However, when the next president came in...
Hey, where the white women at?
He stood up and gave that respect that he didn't expect when he came in. And I thought it was nice to see that. But yeah, look, take it away. There's a lot of great stuff happening here. So,
when it comes to this, watch Bill and Hillary. Watch Bill and Hillary. You're going to see him get ready to tell a joke. And you're going to see this very perfectly. He's been doing the same exact thing for 40 years, probably, maybe more than that. He has the same facial expression when he gets ready to tell a good story, a good joke. He gets that look on his face, and he kind of looks off into the distance, and when he's kind of building up to it with a smile on his face, and he delivers this funny line, whatever it is, and even makes some physical contact to try to get some engagement back, and he gets zero. There's just a lot of disengagement going on right here, and it's sad to see. I was sad to watch that. When they come in, everybody stands up. George stands up. Everybody's shaking all their hands. The Clintons are like the stars of the show. Not for Trump and Obama. They are unfazed. They're still leaning in and talking to each other the whole time. You can see right here that there are no aisles. There's not a right and a left. We're the ones who are divided. They're not the ones who are divided. They're together. And that's great to see. Obama's just a cool dude. Just a cool-ass dude of a person. You watch him do interviews. I'm not talking about his politics, his views, his life, just his behavior when it comes to authority and exuding confidence. He has so much of that going for him. And Trump has it in a completely, they're weirdly opposite, but they both have that kind of charismatic bubble around them. And both of them, I'd write a big check to know what they're talking about, to be able to just kind of sit back behind them and just kind of stick my head between and listen into that. Exactly.
Yeah, man. It's such...
Yeah, he laughing at them. He laughing at them. Hey, check out the snobs just came in.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, man. It's such a great point that people get worked up over the grudges that these people have on stage, and then we see that even they're not emotionally affected by it, and they could be civil with each other. And it seems like here Obama and Trump are willing to just see past the disagreements. I mean, they've gone at each other politically before, but here it's like two people of the I Was a President club hanging out. And you're right, there's more social pleasantry there. And even if it's just a show that they're putting on, just to publicly say, look, we're cool with each other, there's more of an attempt there than between husband and wife, Bill and Hillary Clinton. And it's a weird contrast to see.
Really weird. And
Hey, Obama, she thought she could beat me in the election. Hey, man, don't make me laugh. I don't want her to really get upset with me. So, please, man, come on, don't sell the joke, man. Don't make me laugh. Come on, let me try to keep a straight face right here. High five, brother. He over there sitting next to him. Supposed to be my homeboy. Yeah, be cool. Be cool. Be cool, Trump. Yeah, be cool, man. Don't make me laugh.
So this is a big moment. This is where the current vice president, Kamala Harris, walks in. And I'll concede that we're getting closer to the start time. So that might a little bit explain some variance in behavior. But Chase, in a moment, you'll talk about the difference in atmosphere. One thing I do want to talk about, however, is besides being the vice president, this is also someone who very recently ran for president and lost to someone else who's sitting in that room. So very often when something like that happens, we're a little more sensitive to, like, we want to wait to see how the person's going to engage us to engage them back. And we see that both with Donald Trump and Barack Obama. As she comes to her seat, they're both looking up at her, waiting to see a cue. What's she going to do? Is she going to greet me? Is she going to say hi to me? They're ready to respond, probably to try to match whatever she's going to do, but she turns around and she sits down. But Chase, why don't you talk a little bit about the mood, the atmosphere, and some of the behaviors we're seeing as she comes in?
one of the things, the first thing that I teach in every one of my courses is pay attention to attention. If you look at the juxtaposition between when Bill and Hillary walked in versus this couple, it is a wild difference. It was all attention, almost, except for the bromance that was going on down there. And then when this happened, there's no attention. It's almost an attempt to make a little bit of eye contact and look away as fast as possible to check, like, how am I supposed to respond to this? What am I supposed to do? And everyone's sitting down. They get the opposite reception. Then they take their seats. You can visibly see that there's almost hyperventilating going on in Kamala and her husband, where you can see the chest going up and out. And the location of our breathing and the speed of our breathing are both important. They're both stress indicators. We breathe more up into our chest when we're stressed out. We breathe down into our abdomen when we're relaxed. So you see the breathing shift up into the chest, and it increases in speed. This is extremely high stress that we're seeing in a person trying to lock it down. But Spidey, before I talk about Kamala's husband, I would love for you to talk about her. There's a specific thing in here that happens. I really love your input on it.
Yeah, it's really a beautiful moment of body language, and it's something we've all been in. It's a situation we've all been in before, and we've all felt very embarrassed in that moment. So I completely relate to this. To understand this moment, we also have to understand context a little bit more. A lot of the people who are sitting around her are part of a very exclusive club. Presidents. They've all been presidents. And she is a current vice president, which is awesome, but she's not exactly part of that club. So she's kind of waiting to see, am I accepted into this club? Will they accept me as one of their own? So as aware as they are of her and trying to respond, she's also aware of them and trying to respond, which is why we see when she sits down, the moment Barack Obama opens his mouth, she enthusiastically turns around because she figures he's going to say something to me. She hears his voice and immediately goes, oh good, someone's going to talk to me. She turns to him. But what does she see when she turns to him? He's not talking to her. He's talking to Donald Trump, who...
The man!
You know, there's a rivalry there still. She's still kind of in the middle of that. So she immediately notices that, and what happens? She quickly turns back, and we see the lips, the corners of the lips pull back in this kind of way. Now, this is very consistent. We see this with fear. When we're fearful of something, the lips pull back. We also see it with cringe or with tension in the lips. Nothing very positive. And we've all been in this moment before. You know, where you think someone's waving at you, and you wave back, turns out they're waving to someone behind you.
I was in that position last week.
Dig a hole and just live in there for about a month, you're willing to do that. I've been in situations like this as well, where you're in public, you're waiting, someone says something, you think they're going to talk to you, they're talking to someone else. I felt that embarrassment before.
Yeah, my fries was cold.
And now all of a sudden takes enormous interest in that thing they've been given, that book, that memoir, that tribute, I don't know what it is, but she takes enormous interest in this, which is exactly what I would do as well. Another thing I want everyone to think about is not just behavior for oneself, but expectation. Once again, Kamala is still very much in the middle of this. The election was very recent, and she knows that she has a lot of supporters who have a lot of issues with Donald Trump, and she knows that they're all watching this right now. So her behaviors can be partially because of the way she feels, but also to manage expectation from what people expect of her. Obama's been kind of out of this for a little while. You know, it's been a while. Yes, they had a lot of rivalry, Trump and him, but right now it's Barack Obama and Donald Trump, whereas for it's a little more recent. And she kind of has to manage what a lot of people expect of her, not just her own, wants and desires and connections. So there's a lot going on at play here. And that moment, I felt for her in that moment, because if it was me, can I just live here in this hole for a while?
Run in the corner and cry.
I think this is a great point to bring in the difference.
Away from society.
I think this is a great point to bring in the difference between a wound and a scar. So a lot of those peoples have had battles and battles over the years, insulted each other, saying this guy's a piece of crap, this person's a piece of crap, and all that stuff was a wound at the time that has gradually turned into a scar over time. So she still has a wound from much of this that hasn't really turned into scar tissue yet. But let's look at her husband here. He sits down, and if you look at pictures of him, he has lips. In this video, his lips are gone. He's rigid. He's very trying to be as still as he possibly can, stoic and still. And you can see the
Is it over yet?
Increase, the muscle difference, the difference in muscle tone, not body build, but muscle tone, the relaxation of muscle tissue between him and Trump and Obama having a conversation back there behind.
They're the only two having fun.
And sitting there just holding himself in this just as still and rigid as possible. That is very telling of high stress, a potential for fear. And why does that indicate fear? When we tighten our muscles, we make our bodies harder to bite from predators thousands of years ago. So we make our bodies a harder target, so that we see a lot of increased rigidity in people who are experiencing fear and stress. And we're seeing a ton of that right here.
Wow, nobody stood up. Talk about a cold shoulder.
Okay, this one's really quick for me. Again, I guess because when the president walks in, it's assumed that, okay, things are about to get started, so maybe we're staying in our seats a little bit more. But even with that, if I look at the interactions as they sit down between Kamala and Jill Biden, who are like this is the first lady and the vice president of the country right now, and the cameras are on, and I wouldn't say it's unpleasant, but on a scale from 0 to Trump and Obama, they're at like a 1 or something. You know what I mean? It's like this sit down, just this quick little exchange, and that's about it. Like you said earlier, we pay attention to attention, and the attention is forward. It's just this, yeah, and then back to this.
Yeah, so if we just look at attention, they don't really pay much attention to anybody that's there in the crowd. There's no waves, no eye contact, no significant
I wonder
movements,
why.
and there's no attention coming back at them. Or so it seems.
Let's not argue here, okay?
So that's a different clip I found from a separate source where we see a little bit of what happened after the service. And I think there's some value here. And forget expertise in behavioral analysis. Forget Chase's experience, my experience. Purely intuitively, as you look at this, who do you think Obama was having a more pleasant interaction with? Would it have been with Donald Trump or with Kamala Harris? I'll leave that open-ended. Just compare the behaviors, and you could see. It's nice that Kamala had a chance here to get up, and we see her greeting George Bush. She's talking to Obama. So there's a bit of that interaction. We're seeing it. But if we notice a little bit of the energy around it, there's stuff to notice. Like when she's talking to George Bush, Barack Obama is looking at her with a very tight-lipped smile, and he's kind of waiting, I think, to see, okay, is something going to happen here? I'm waiting for my cue. When she's talking to Barack Obama, we see the same thing from Donald Trump, who just got finished talking to her husband. He's looking at her. He throws these glances at her to see, okay, does she want some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of hello? He's waiting for her cue to see what she wants to do here. Chase, what else are we seeing here?
No, I don't have no candy.
Let's pay attention to attention. If you see President Obama address Vice President Harris, you're going to see a lot of looking this way, looking that way while he's speaking. I don't see any eye contact in this. There's a lot of, I'm going to look this direction. I'm looking over here. I'm looking everywhere else. The tight-lipped expressions are still there. All of that, it points to a higher stress and a desire to end the conversation a lot faster, to me.
And we can't really assume what that's about. We know what they're talking about. Maybe there was something really serious like that they were discussing. We don't know what it is. We can't hear what the conversation is. And context matters. That's one of your 5 C's. So context is huge. So we can't just assume that it reflects the relationship. But yes, looking at the nonverbal communication, it certainly seems that the conversation with Donald Trump was more casual, relaxed, pleasant, and there's some kind of tension here about something.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, could be the election. Could be.
It's a short clip of Donald Trump talking to Forbes about the conversation that he had with Obama and what was going on. Take a look.
Off the top, you mentioned the Carter funeral today. What were you talking to Barack Obama about?
It did look very friendly, I must say.
I thought you guys faced each other.
I didn't realize how friendly it looked. I saw it on your wonderful network just a little while ago before I came in, and I said, boy, they look like 2 people that like each other. And we probably
look like 2 people.
Right? But we probably do. I don't know, we just got along. But I got along with just about everybody in that. We met backstage, as you know, before we went on. And I thought it was a beautiful service, but we all got along very well, which is good.
Okay, so Chase, I think we could do a separate analysis of just that one answer. That would be about 3 hours long. Instead of that, let's just... What's that?
Easily.
Yeah. Instead of doing that, let's just each pick one thing about this that stood out the most to us. So, go ahead.
So, in my training, this is called a non-answer statement. A person asks a question, and the answer that a person gives does not provide some substantive answer to what the person was asking about.
What were you talking to Barack Obama about?
He did look very friendly, I must say.
This was definitely not an answer. There's a couple other things here. Spidey, let's get you to go into this, and then I'll bounce off of whatever you say.
If you don't know by now, that's one of Trump's classics right there. Hey, ask me a question. Let me see if I can get a joke out of this.
Basically words that soften the statement, that take something and pull it away from the absolute. And he did it twice in this response. One of them is when he said that he gets along with just about everyone who was in that room.
I got along with just about everybody in that, we met backstage, as you know, before we went on.
Now, we don't know who he's talking about that he doesn't get along with, but the statement he's making is, well, first he says just about everyone, then he says everyone. But that just about is important. It means I get along with most people, but some I don't. The bigger exclusion, though, that I thought was really interesting was when he said that it looks like two guys who like each other, and we probably do.
And I said, boy, they look like two people that like each other, and we probably do.
That's a really interesting thing because, Chase, if I'm talking to someone and the subject of Chase Hughes comes up, I go, yeah, we're good friends. We're one of my closest friends. I have your permission. I know from our relationship that I have your permission to tell people that we get along. And that's where that probably is coming in here. It's about Obama's perspective. So in saying this, Trump is saying, I like him. I haven't had a chance to hang out with him. We didn't have a weekend getaway together, but from what I know as a person, I like him. From what I've noticed, I think he likes me, but I don't know if I have his permission to tell everyone that he likes me. So that probability just kind of softens the statement that, oh yeah, we like each other, we're great friends.
The potential was there because I think there's no proximity. They don't spend time together. They're not going out to Mar-a-Lago playing golf together. But I think they hit it off much better than either one of them would have expected. And I look forward to seeing this blossoming relationship continue. And let's talk about one more thing in this clip.
If you're having
So right as Peter asked this question, Trump has this response of kind of a pulling the lips back. And for your subscribers especially, we may have mentioned this before, and that's kind of almost a fear response for the lips to draw back horizontally. But this right here, where we get to changes, that's the first C on the 5 C's. This is not a change from his behavioral baseline. So this is a very normal response to somebody asking him a question. And we definitely are seeing that here.
Yeah, I completely agreed. It's something we often see with him, this kind of before he answers, and we sometimes even hear a bit of an inhale like this before he speaks. So yeah, absolutely baseline. So beautifully said. Okay, one last thing. I know we said we're gonna just pick one thing each, but it's juicy.
Well, I'm gonna let you tune in to that and find out all the highlights. Shout out to the channel here and condolences to the family. Hey, it is what it is. Everybody's human. Everybody has a personality. And everybody have people that they just don't like. And I don't think Trump care anything about none of that. He'd just rather just tell a joke and get on to the next day. And that's it. That's how you live. That's how some people live. You know? Why hold a lot of hate in your heart? What good is that gonna do you? Like they say, you over here with your face all balled up and mad, and the other person, they enjoying life and they not even thinking about you. So, lesson learned, right?